watched, he was known as Harsh Reality. Now it's known as the Rant Podcast. I'll link to him in the description. I was watching one of his latest episodes, and he was talking about how there was no sort of evidence to support this idea that Bryan Kohberger showed any signs of being violent or being unstable. And Harsh went on to say that there was really there was nothing that stood out as atypical. The first thing I want to say is, it's documented that he would go into this bar and try to talk to these waitresses, and when they didn't respond or want to answer his invasive questions, he'd call them bitches. There's nothing typical or normal about that. And it's very telling to me how people, especially men, are willing to sort of brush that under the table, like the whole boys will be boys things. I want to be clear, there's nothing normal about it, and it's usually a sign of some pretty latent contempt or rage for women. Now, that said, we need to, we really need to look at this belief that a lot of people have that Kohberger looks a certain way and he has a certain background and there really isn't anything that stands out, and therefore that means he just doesn't look the type to commit this crime. And I want to be clear that everything that I'm going to say can be applied to anybody. And I'm using Kohberger because he's the one that Harsh was talking about. But Bryan Kohberger he's not an outlier. You know, he's not an anomaly in terms of men who kill. So I just want to make that clear before I go a little deeper into this topic. See, I'm going to disagree with Harsh. I do think there were some signs. And the one I'm going to start with is that online post that he made when he was about 14 or 15 years old. And let's read some of the things he said. Let's see. He said, "I feel like an organic sack of meat with no self-worth. As I hug my family, I look into their faces, I see nothing. It is like I am looking at a video game, but less." That kind of depersonalization says an awful lot about how he views people. Like, he's completely detached from his surroundings. And he's saying that he doesn't feel anything, which includes he has a lack of empathy. So I don't know why we're overlooking that, and I don't think we should overlook that, because I do think that's indicative of somebody who was feeling very removed and very resentful towards his surroundings and his environment. The article goes on to say, he, meaning Kohberger, describes an array of mental health challenges, including anxiety, depression, depersonalization, lack of emotion, and the constant thought of unaliving himself. The lack of emotion, the depersonalization. That's not something to overlook, because those are traits commonly found in psychopaths. Let's also not forget that it was revealed on Dateline, and to be fair, we haven't heard any confirmation about this, but investigators think it's very possible that Kohberger broke into a woman's apartment, rearranged things, and then when she came home and she was scared and she contacted him, he offered to put cameras in her apartment, and they believe it's very possible he installed those cameras so that he could spy on her. Again, not proven, but yet there's been a lot of things that are used to defend this guy that haven't been proven, so I'm gonna throw my hat into that particular ring. Are we just gonna overlook that? That it's believed by investigators that he broke into somebody's home and installed cameras so that he could spy on her. There's nothing normal about that. Let's also not forget that Bryan Kohberger was removed from a law enforcement class in high school and had to be put in another class where there weren't any girls or any women. There's nothing normal about that. Now, they can't say what exactly happened because of student privacy laws, but suffice it to say, it sounds like something about Kohberger and his interaction with women wasn't working with the curriculum, was causing some kind of problem, was impeding the other students' ability to properly properly learn, I guess. I don't know how else to put it, but there's nothing normal about that. And I don't know why we're supposed to just, look over that like it didn't happen. Now, I've said before that I don't think whoever did this, I don't think they started at a quadruple homicide. I think they escalated from something. And I have said earlier that I believed he started as some kind of peeping Tom. So these surveillance cameras and installing them in his friend's apartment, they kind of fit that profile. That it just sort of fits the picture of somebody who could be escalating to taking things from just watching to actually acting on their feelings. What I think is interesting in the Independent's article about this issue with the friend and the cameras is that the investigators are quoted as saying something very interesting, which is the hero image that he can portray. You've got this problem. I'm here to solve the problem for you and make it better for you. I'm here to solve the problem for you. It's okay. I'm going to help you. Remember that. Investigators are saying that by setting this up basically and having this woman come to him and ask for his help, he enjoys playing the hero. He enjoys being the one to fix the problem. Well, we know what he said, and we believe it was him, and he was saying it to Xana. It's okay, I'm going to help you. That fits the narrative. That fits what these investigators are saying about him or how they're describing him. I think the people that say that Kohberger has never shown any signs that he could be capable of this, the thing is that on the surface, no, but you have to be willing to dig a little deeper. And I think the people saying he's not showing any signs, they don't want to dig any deeper because what they find might not align with their narrative, that he's being set up, that he's not the type, etc., etc. And don't forget the halo effect and how that plays a role in all this. He's a reasonably attractive white guy, right? We naturally assume positive traits to people who are conventionally attractive. Remember that, and because that's playing a role in this too. Something else that was brought to my attention the other night when I was watching the Crime Nation special about the Idaho murders was that Elliot Rodger, who is known as sort of the hero of the incel community, Elliot Rodger murdered girls from the who were members of the sorority Alpha Phi. Kaylee was also a member of Alpha Phi. Now, is that connected? I don't know. But you do have to ask yourself about Papa Rogers. People believe that Rogers could be sort of a callback to Elliot Rodgers. And, could these murders be some kind of, I don't know, some kind of tribute to Elliot Rodger, or was he using that as a framework of some kind? I don't know. Now I want to talk about something known as masking. When you're talking about how someone could not show any signs of being a psychopath or being capable of a certain type of crime, or like a very vicious, heinous crime, masking often comes into play here. And masking is when somebody mimics the behavior of those that surround him or her, and they copy people's behavior, and they act like somebody with empathy, with compassion, but actually don't have these traits. That's what masking is. You know, where they're just, this is why I say when Ted Bundy working at a woman's crisis hotline was probably so that he could learn how to mask empathy. Because that trait is very appealing to women. It's using that will probably get men a lot more attention from women. So he had to learn how to show this emotion so that people wouldn't suspect him. The thing about masking is that psychopaths can do it for a very long time. Their whole lives, years, decades, until the mask slips. So when people say it doesn't, you know, he never showed any signs, that doesn't matter. Look at Leopold and Loeb. These were two highly intelligent young men who, for the most part, showed promise. Nobody would ever have suspected them of being capable of doing what they did to that young boy. But they did. Now again, I'm not saying he's guilty, but I am saying it's reductive to claim that he has nothing in his history that hints at him having the potential or the ability to commit a quadruple homicide. Now, like with every other video, tell me what you think. Do you think there's anything in Kohberger's past that would make people consider the possibility that he could be capable of these crimes? Or do you think that these things that I've pointed out, that they're harmless? Tell me what you think in the comments.